Hello, and a very warm welcome to another session of the Change Exchange, where we talk about life, we talk about changes, we talk about the decisions we make. And my guest today, Angel Jones. Warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Rita. Nice to be here.
You did economics and something else at UCT, and
That's
then
right.
a postgrad qualification in advertising. What attracted you to advertising?
I always loved talking and chatting and telling stories and all the rest. And I remember at school, we were told every single person wants to get into advertising, and it's almost impossible to do that. So I remember thinking, if I take economics at varsity, then that'll give me that extra edge because I need to know how to sell stuff with the economics at the end of it, not just do the pretty pictures and the lovely words.
So the advertising came first in your head, in your
heart. Always. My mother showed me a clever ad when I was young, and it was about them not an anti-mining campaign for the Kruger Park. And she explained the line to me, and it said, "We dig the Kruger Park, and they mustn't." She said, "Well, that's a pun, and that's how it works." And I was fascinated by the use of clever language to, be up there on billboards.
You worked in London for, what was the name of the company? It was one of the Saatchi.
That's right. It was M&C Saatchi. And in fact, it was named after Morris and Charles Saatchi, the two original Saatchi brothers, who walked out of the big Saatchi & Saatchi agency and took 12 people with them. And I managed to get in as a runner. I was the 13th person to join them, literally running around during the day, getting cappuccinos and dry cleaning for Charles Saatchi, and at night, writing ads and, almost practically sleeping under my desk. Managed to do that for a couple of months, then found a wonderful art director. And we worked through the nights and managed then to get a job in the industry, which was amazing.
But after 7 years, you decided to come back to South Africa. Why? When was that?
So I never meant to go for so long. It was a year or two of backpacking and then settling in London. I thought for a year and a bit, but after 7 years, the trigger moment was my moment. It was every South African has that moment of wanting to return, and I was lucky enough to be there seeing Madiba standing on the steps of Trafalgar Square, looking out over all of us, saying, "I love you all so much, want to put you in my pocket and take you home." And I burst into tears. I mean, I'd been writing letters at home all the time in the shiny, new, bright South Africa. I'd grown up, I think, very conscientized and never been proud of my flag or the colour of my skin. And, Madiba was released when I was at varsity, so he, the symbolism of now feeling proud and free was very, very big in my life. So that was my trigger moment, and returned home to start the M&C Saatchi branch of the ad agency here before we bought them out.
But when was that? Was it 94?
That was So 94 was actually when I just arrived in London, ironically enough. Madiba spoke at Trafalgar Square late into the late 90s, and I arrived back in 2000. And so we started the business, but also started the non-profit agency of Homecoming Revolution, which I'll tell you about as a big change, which happened 3 years ago. Having that built up as a non-profit, and my advertising business, we bought out the Saatchi brothers, in fact, and named it Morris Jones, and we're able to launch some really good brands.
Let's walk through that slowly.
Sure.
What is it like to actually put yourself on the line now? You're no longer employed and get a guaranteed salary check.
So the big leap into entrepreneurship started with the ad business. I was in London. I was working for the Saatchi brothers, and that was wonderful. But coming back to open up their branch here, that was taking a risk with Nina Morris. She was the CEO. I was the creative director. And so we always felt like we were in the wind, in terms of needing to deliver. And the opportunity to buy the Saatchi brothers out was amazing, to be able to name our own ad agency after ourselves. And then very much as an independent shop, having to build itself up was never a dull moment, taking risks everywhere.
How does one cope with that stress? Because I think that keeps many people tied to a corporate life, because the security is just, they can't give it up.
Sure. So a combination of factors. Having a partner was really good. I mean, I miss having a partner now in my homecoming role. So we took turns to have, it's my turn to jump off the balcony and commit chop suey today because I'm so stressed, and the other one would be more calm. So we'd have turns in that sense. as far as it goes, being a business owner, especially being a woman, being able to have children, and then being able to choose whether you're going to go to your important meeting of seeing a client or your just as important meeting of going to watch your daughter swim in a gala. Being your own business owner gives you that ability, and lucky enough to be able to build the business just as technology was allowing you to still do business on the road. So, the idea of being in corporate and being held to a 9-to-5 role and not being in charge of my own destiny, it's just unthinkable.
I once had an opportunity, and I remember talking to someone about it, and I said, I don't know what to do, this is such a wonderful offer. And she said, would you have to ask someone for leave?
That's the big qualifier, isn't it? So your choice was no, never.
Because freedom is an amazing thing, and especially for, I don't know, I think for a woman still.
Definitely.
More
I
so.
think we're clever enough and clever enough at our multitasking to play the role of the boss and the wife and the mother. And you can switch quite quickly into those roles during the day by being in charge of your own destiny. It is hugely rewarding. And the risk that comes with it, that stress attached, the highs and the lows are deeper, but the highs are bigger. So it's a bigger life.
And Homecoming Revolution, you started just a website.
So we started as a website back in the day to tell the stories of other people who'd returned home as a way of...
Why did you start?
Because I came back and realized, there was this perception abroad that if you came back, then you were a failure, that you couldn't hack it abroad, which was completely the opposite. And just seeing the opportunities and the ways that you could reconnect with people and really, have an amazing business life and lifestyle and make a big difference by being home, prompted us to start the website, which overnight just blossomed. This was the days before Facebook or Twitter, so our platform was used as everybody's love-hate relationship with South Africa. F&B, we found a sponsorship. We managed to employ a fully fledged team running it. And then I had my very convenient midlife crisis 3 years ago and wondered, my passion was homecoming, my head was advertising, and so took the leap, sold my ad business, sold Morris Jones, and stepped full-time into Homecoming Revolution and commercialized the entity.
What does that mean?
So now we're not a non-profit anymore. We shamelessly turned it into a business, and we're repatriating South Africans to South Africa, but also Kenyans and Nigerians living abroad back to their respective countries. So we're the brain gain company for Africa, and we introduce employers at home to African professionals worldwide with the trigger of the reason you return home is friends and family, sense of purpose and belonging, wanting to make a difference. And yes, your career. So we use all our emotive case studies and all then the tools, practical tools of property schools, relocation services, to equip people to come back.
So you are a placement agency and more.
Yes, we're a hybrid. So people can't often quite figure what is Homecoming Revolution, because we offer all the marketing platforms for people to actually advertise to people abroad and those for coming back, so whatever products and services they need, as well as being able to place people. But most recruitment firms will work on a placement fee once they get settled. We go on a much smaller charge of introductions. So we see ourselves as the dating agency for corporates and talent. We have these speed meet events in London and New York and Nairobi and Lagos where we bring together talent and employers for 3-minute sessions, and from there the employers will decide whether to hire or not. So it's a different volume model, and really working for us. We have these wonderful ideas of this massive wave of repatriation back to the continent. South Africa, we've seen in the past 5 years 359,000 South African professionals have returned home. And we know that for every one skilled person that comes back to South Africa, 9 new jobs are created in the formal and informal sector. So it really is rewarding stuff.
How do you sell it at the moment? Because there is so much negative news.
It's been the worst 5 months, I think. That we can. 2008 we thought was bad. I think obviously the worst that ever was the apartheid, and then before the elections when we really did think that we were all burning. We find in South Africa you will always have a love-hate relationship with being South African. My life in London, I was always this happy and this sad, so it was a very predictable life. Here I'm this happy and this sad, so it is, you can be horrified and overjoyed in one day. We deal with people all the time who want to come back. We're seeing though right now in South Africa people questioning, is this the right place? Isn't it? Crime, load shedding, xenophobia, it's all related. I think without a doubt in South Africa now we've got a crisis with our political leadership, there's no question. I think this gives rise to other parties having a voice and being able to play a role. And I mean, what it does for me, when I see, for example, the xenophobic attacks, I see a small pocket of radicals doing that, and then a massive wave of people saying, actually, that's wrong. So it brings to the fore the conversation about being actively South African versus sitting passively on the sidelines.
And here your life makes a difference.
Yeah, it's rewarding. It's rewarding. So I drive down with my windows down, I chat to people on the street. I feel intensely alive. I look at my kids. Lulu this morning rehearsing her Zulu test and me being able to test her because she's taught me enough as well, which is wonderful. Feeling that you can really play an active role and that you can, we know enough people in different sectors to create change and make it happen. And we've often been a lone voice in the wind, but we're encouraged by more and more people abroad who are saying, I know it's got its problems, but I don't want to wait until it gets better. I want to come home and make it better. To be able to align your purpose with a business aim is amazing. I wondered, would we lose any credibility when we became a business? In fact, we've gained it. People take us more seriously now.
Yeah, because you're putting your own salary on the line.
Exactly. And we're now able to employ the best talent ourselves in the business. And we're at the high table with all the embassies and the public sector and different multinationals looking for talent. So it's an exciting place to play.
And on a personal level, your husband Carlos,
A wonderful husband. So when he met me, I had Lulu already. I had this wonderful moonbeam of a daughter that beamed into my life quite by accident from one night. She was 6 months old, and there I was literally still in those days wearing these big wings. I used to wear 12 different pairs of wings made out of different things. My daughter and my wings, and most men were absolutely terrified and would run a mile, but this guy, the only other Christian Buddhist I've ever met in my life who got me. And so we've been married now for, I think 8 years. 8 years. We've got a lovely little boy called Samuel, who's 7. And so he works across the continent. He works for Roche. He does head of sales in sub-Saharan Africa. I don't travel as much anymore. He does a lot more of that. And we make sure we're there for the kids in the morning. We get home, we eat dinner together every night. We hands-on with them all weekend. And we're very aware of how lucky we are. Very aware. We've just moved to a lovely house near the Johannesburg Zoo. And I think we give thanks all the time. We are very, very aware that in South Africa, this Gini coefficient is probably the biggest in the world. And we remind our children just how lucky we are. So I feel very blessed.
A relationship doesn't happen by itself. It either goes up or down. How do you keep yours strong?
So we have every night, for the past 8 years, 10 years we've known each other. My high about you is this, my low about you is this, and what I'm looking forward to with you is this. So that acts as a barometer every night that we can sort of do a control alt delete on how we're feeling. Sometimes it is my high about you is you. I don't have a low about you. No, my low about you is you. I don't have a high. So, I mean, it's funny. The little things that count. My high about you is that you bought me coffee. My low about you is you didn't notice when I got the food. So that's a great way that we're constantly, recalibrating where we are with each other.
And it's awareness, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I've realized his love language is very different to mine. So his love language is all about tidying. I mean, isn't it amazing? I've met this wonderful husband who decorates and tidies. He's a Portuguese man, so he's got this wonderful sense of home and decor. And my love language is very much words and affection. We meet in the middle. But learning what his love language is as well, I think, was a hard one. Because when he wants to show me how much he loves me, he starts tidying up, which is the opposite of what I would do. So it's been a wonderful time. We're lucky enough we've got both sets of parents here, and all our siblings are here. So it's lots of family get-togethers. Very big Portuguese family. On his side, I'm one of 4 siblings on this side. So it's a lot of loving each other's families at the same time, which has been also very rewarding.
It's not always easy. because you meet a person, but you marry the family.
Indeed. I've always wished that I spoke proper Portuguese. I gave that to him as a Valentine present for me back in the day. I'm giving myself Portuguese lessons, my darling. But they only lasted about 5 weeks, and then I kind of lost track. So that's one regret. One day I think I'll do that. Make sure I learn Portuguese.
Talk to me about your children. You say your daughter came like a moonbeam.
She was my little moonbeam.
How did they change you?
So for one thing, I stopped wearing wings when I fell pregnant. So I was a bit.
What do you mean by wearing wings?
I used to wear these big
shoulder pads?
No, full-on wings made of feathers and made of flames and made of beads. And so people would come up to me and going, who are you? What are you? Well, my name's Angel and I run an ad agency, and, it really worked, sort of the shameless PR. I think having Lulu really relaxed me because I was sort of 33 and I was flying solo, and I was thinking, I don't know if any man wants to marry me. I think I'm too crazy and too intimidating and whatever it is. So by the time I had her, I'd kind of I didn't need a man anymore. It sounds terrible. And when I stopped looking, then there was Carlos, So she de-stresses me, as Samuel does. So coming home and playing guitar with them and reading them stories is really amazing. And I feel so much more whole.
Be in the moment.
Exactly. It has certainly made all the difference in being able to look at the little things, and you stress out about whatever's not working. But then when you sit and you practice the G or the D7 chord with your boy, it really does focus your life.
What are the most important values that you try and teach them?
Gratitude. So every night, thank you, God, for. So we have our standard stuff we say thank you for, and then each child needs to think of what that is about. Awareness of how blessed we are, awareness that we're all healthy and we've go to wonderful schools and that we live in a beautiful climate, and awareness of how not every South African is as privileged as us, and what can we do. So always thinking, how can you make a difference, and all the rest. We supposedly have the value of not shouting at each other. We're not very good at that. Always supposedly no shouting in the house, but when we each have our turn. Music, dancing, we put up the music and we dance around. Family. Humility. It all sounds wonderful, doesn't it? We sound like these real martyrs, but I promise you.
No, but at least being aware of it, even if you can't reach it every day, as you say.
Yeah.
And tell me about your home. Where is it? How did you
So we're in Saxonwold. We're very lucky. We had a big Control-Alt-Delete in our life about 2.5 years ago, which was thinking we can't live in Josie anymore. We must go and live in Cape Town. And looking back on that, I think it was a reaction to me wanting to get out the ad industry, and me realizing that I was equating Joburg with my ad world life. And so the only practical thing that seemed to be possible was to sell our house, move to Cape Town. So we did. We didn't actually move to Cape Town. We sold our house, rented in Greenside for a year, got the kids into their new schools in Cape Town, and we were just about to move. And then realized that we'd be living on an airplane. I think if I was happy in Cape Town to be a soccer mom and, not needing to work, then it would be different. But here we were thinking of taking the kids away from my friends and family out of their schools. And then I was going to say, bye, guys, I'm flying off to Lagos and Nairobi for work. That wouldn't have worked. So being able to have this kind of fresh look at Joburg was amazing, and realizing the diversity here and opportunity here and the great stuff we're doing with Homecoming Revolution meant that we bought a new house in Saxonwold, and we've called the new house Cape Town. So we've moved to Cape Town. And it's really great to feel, that we've actively chosen to be in the city. We've just been voted in Joburg as the coolest city in the world.
Yes.
So, we're seeing all the people fly in and out from all over the continent and from abroad, and feel very actively Joburgers.
And the house itself, what do you look for?
So my man is what we call a spruce and cell genius. He will find a very, not dilapidated, good bones house, and a renovator's dream. And in fact, this is now the 7th time we've moved. Now we're staying put. We're not moving again. But, from the minute I met him, he had bought his house in Parkhurst I hadn't even been dating him for more than a week, and he was already painting my house in Parkhurst. Then we got engaged, bought a renovator's dream in Parkview, and then another one in Westcliff, and then now in Saxonwold. So bought this one, Good Bones.
So is that what you look for, the good bones?
You wouldn't recognize it. But every Saturday, Carlos is there going to the gardening shop or painting or doing. And I mean, I've learned that I sometimes try and put a statue there and then, it'll get moved. And so we'll have this thing, I'll put it back and we'll have sort of my last refuge are my cupboards, which is complete turmoil. He once tried to tidy those and I was so furious. So he knows that's my last space that is mine. The rest of it is, I mean, our house looks like we live in a magazine. It's amazing. I walk around going, wow. It's crazy.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and enjoy Josie.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you. Goodbye.